Right now, the AI boom is literally colliding with a massive physical bottleneck. Data centers are quite simply running out of physical space for cables. So today we're diving straight into an incredibly timely presentation delivered by Corning's Gabe Sudeth on the game-changing potential of multi-core fiber. To make sure we capture exactly how the optical industry is preparing to revolutionize data center density, we're going to follow the complete contents of his original speech step by step. Okay, here's a quick look at where we're headed. We'll start by defining what multi-core fiber actually is, jump into 3 major ecosystem advantages, look at how AI is driving the Sdm4 Msa, cover the project's scope and members, and wrap things up with a great Q&A on connectors and core counts. So let's kick things off by defining multi-core fiber. For an industry staring down the barrel of some massive capacity constraints, you absolutely have to understand this physical shift. Multi-core fiber, or MCF, is, well, exactly what it sounds like. Instead of that normal single-core fiber we're all used to, you're packing multiple separate cores inside the exact same piece of cladding. This is huge. It gives you up to 4 times the bandwidth without taking up a single millimeter of extra physical space. Gabe sets the stage right away by defining this as the foundational technology we're dealing with. And notice that critical number right there, 125. The outer clotting size remains exactly 125 microns. That's a real game changer, because it means the outside dimensions of the fiber literally don't change at all, just the inside. You don't have to overhaul your entire physical footprint or go ripping out existing conduits just to get a massive bandwidth upgrade. The glass threading actually going into the data centers looks and feels exactly the same on the outside. Now, looking at the notional guidelines Gabe presented, this specific fiber features 4 normal cores arranged in a 2x2 layout with a 40-micron core pitch. Basically, that means the precise distance between the centers of those cores is exactly 40 microns. That pitch is absolutely vital to prevent interference between your data streams. But fundamentally, these 4 cores deliver an unparalleled density advantage. Right now, this is a pure scale-out play, aimed squarely at solving those immediate critical spatial bottlenecks for operators building out massive new facilities. Which brings us to the 3 major ecosystem advantages. Before we list them out, I really want you to keep this massive 4-to-1 advantage in your head. This ratio is basically the beating heart of this entire innovation. You're getting 4 times the pathways in the exact same physical space, and that translates directly into a 4-to-1 reduction in physical headaches across the board, which really cascades into broader benefits for the entire network. Gabe explicitly highlights a domino effect of benefits here. First up is density. Imagine a data center cable tray packed to the absolute brim. With this, you can shrink that physical bulk down almost 4-to-1, instantly freeing up precious real estate. Second is connector reduction. Because the cores are rotated within a single connector ferrule, installers are doing a fraction of the clicks they used to do. That frees up vital space on the patch panel and saves an enormous amount of installation time. And third, sustainability. Smaller cables means significantly less plastic and glass, fewer transport trucks on the highway, and just an overall greener footprint for these massive tech builds. Okay, let's look at AI needs and the Sdm4 Msa. With AI scaling out everything right now, density constraints are just popping up everywhere. But the issue is that multi-core fiber requires a total ecosystem shift. Companies, network installers, field equipment providers, they all need to get comfortable with it. So to foster a market that basically doesn't even exist yet, member companies created the Sdm4 Msa. That stands for Multi-Source Agreement. It guarantees a baseline level of sameness across the industry because, let's face it, you simply can't have early market adoption without competitors agreeing on critical physical and optical parameters first. And this brilliantly illustrates their strategy. Look, international standards bodies like the ITU and IEEE are incredibly essential for the long term. But their bureaucratic process, it just takes way too long for the urgent density needs driven by AI today. We can't sit around waiting 5 years for a standard when data centers are completely full right now. The MSA approach acts as a crucial speedway, bridging the gap and moving at the breakneck pace of the AI boom before those overarching international standards are formally finalized. Next up, let's look at the scope and the member companies involved. This perfectly maps out the specific boundaries of the effort. The MSA is laser-focused on a 4-core fiber meant for O-band, short-reach applications, meaning distances under 2 kilometers. That is exactly what you need to connect servers inside a massive AI data center, rather than, say, long-haul telecom across the entire country. The founding giants driving this include AFL, Corning, Sumitomo, and Terra Optics. Gabe noted the actual spec release is coming very soon, and once it's out, they're looking to rapidly add new members to help build out this critical supply chain. Finally, we have the Q&A on connectors and core counts. To close out his speech, Gabe opened the floor for a really fascinating lightning round Q&A. The very first question from the audience hit on a highly practical hurdle. What effort is actually going into creating a standard connector? Obviously, changing the glass inside the cable is one thing, but how do you standardize the plug without suffering from massive feature creep or incompatible designs? Gabe pointed out a really delicate balancing act here. The industry absolutely must make progress on standardization to move forward, but they also have to ensure availability across several different connector types. Why? Because end-user architectures vary wildly. A cloud provider might need something entirely different from an enterprise data center. So the MSA has to foster rapid innovation while aggressively preventing the scope from spiraling completely out of control. Then came a brilliant question, probing the core architecture chosen by the MSA. Why stop at 4 cores? I mean, if density is the ultimate goal and everyone needs more space, why didn't they do 8? Or push it all the way to 19 cores? Gabe's answer is just incredibly pragmatic. 2 cores are simply too few to justify a massive ecosystem change. But if you push beyond 4 cores, they get too close together. You risk signal interference and crosstalk between the pathways, meaning you'd have to drastically alter the fundamental optical properties away from what the industry is used to today. So 4 is the absolute perfect sweet spot. You get the 4x multiplier bang for your buck without sacrificing reliable, proven baseline performance. Interestingly, though, Gabe didn't just dismiss the number 19. He acknowledges that 19 cores is generally seen as the physical upper limit you can cram into a standard 125-micron cladding before things break down. In fact, a 19-core cluster is already a target for emerging micro-V cells, which is next-generation laser technology, and micro-LED arrays. So while 4 is the sweet spot for today's massive data center scale-outs, the industry is already aiming at 19 for the distant future. As we wrap up this explainer on Gabe Sedith's presentation, you really have to ask yourself a critical question. Is settling on this 4-core sweet spot the exact catalyst we need to save our data centers? By creating a baseline of sameness through the Sdm4 Msa, the optical industry just might unlock the massive, scalable supply chain required to physically support the future of artificial intelligence. Will 4-core fiber be the unsung hero of the AI revolution? We're just going to have to watch and see.